Now, this body type is one of rather good mobility. So if you look at the elbows, gets a little bit of that, what's called that gun stock deformity. And, pretty good mobility in her thumb. She's not quite able to touch, but she's getting close. And ouch. And if I hyperextend her finger, she gets at least to 90 here. And at the distal joint, my gosh, I'm getting a lot of movement in that distal joint. So we could say, yeah, she is hypermobile in some parts of her body, but not all. Okay, so it makes it very interesting. When we come to the AC joint, where the clavicle makes a joint with the scapula, it's a projection called the acromion. I'm going to bring a model over here and show that to you. So this is her scapula that I'm holding. And then the acromion is this piece, and it's rounded on the inside. Well, the outside of the clavicle is rounded this way, just like the acromion. And it's also rounded this way, so the clavicle can glide out, glide in, twist out, glide up, glide down, glide forward, glide backward. Very complex motions. Well, she has good shoulder motion, and people have seen her shoulder motion and said, you're hypermobile. But if we look at this joint, it's stuck. There's no motion in that clavicle. I like to do a spring at 45 degrees. I can't even load her acromioclavicular joint, okay? There's no inferior glide. There's no posterior glide. There's no medial glide. There's no towards the ceiling forward glide. And the acromion, I can't spring it towards her toes. It's just stuck right there. That is a position of the scapula coming forward in what's called protraction, rounded shoulders, and then getting stuck there. That will inhibit the muscles in the upper back. So she could strengthen for weeks and never restore normal strength in the scapular stabilizers in the upper back. Why? Because of this joint restriction. It pulls on some of the ligaments on one side, and on the other side of the joint, they're too loose, and it's sending bad information to the spinal cord and brain, and the nervous system responds to that. So she could get massage to her pectorals. You've been massaging her pectorals for, no? Oh, you haven't been massaging it? Okay, it's okay. Had you been doing this, it wouldn't work. Okay? Because tight pectorals are not the cause of this. They're a symptom. They're an outcome of the problem of the stuck joint. So, I've had people who've had lots of pectoral massage. It just doesn't release it sufficiently. Temporarily, a little bit. Yeah, it's a little better. Next day, no, not better. All right. Her neck mobility is pretty good, segment by segment. Okay, that must be 7, I would guess, because when I come here, there's no movement. So I think I'm on T1 right now. And as we walk up the neck, I can induce a little bit of spring, and I can do it on each side as well until I come in just beneath the occiput. I'm on C1, and now there is no give whatsoever. Okay, and if I come on both sides, I'm butting up right against the occiput. I'm lifting up towards the ceiling. I'm on the transverse processes of the first neck vertebrae, and there's no movement. There's no micromotion. If I come below it, look at the micromotion. Okay, I can lift up on each side, and I demonstrated that I could lift in the middle, and you get that motion that goes past that joint into motion above and below that. But when it's stuck, and the micromotion stops right there. Well, guess what? When I come on top of her mastoid, I can't spring it left or right. If I come under the mastoid and lift up, I can't get any side bending at the OA. So when I come off the mastoid and I fall into, find the tip of the mastoid, I'm trying to find the tip of the transverse process of the first vertebrae called the atlas. Well, this is so deep, and based on prior experience, I know that when it's deep, there's a high probability that her atlas is stuck in flexion and downward glide, and that moves the tip of the spinous processes backwards. So there's a deep sulcus. Okay, if it's hyperextended, it has the opposite effect. And when I do come behind and find the tip of that spinous process, there's no give left or right. There's no give at all. Now, I do a method of evaluating the upper two joints with traction, and I contact the temples in front of the ear and above, because those two joints are in the front of the neck. All the other facet joints are in the back of the neck. Okay, so if I do traction on her occiput, I'm not testing those upper two joints. Okay, I mean, she has good spring when I traction through the occiput. But if I want to test the upper two joints, I have to contact higher up. I cannot traction her head towards me. I'm going to have you scoot down about an inch. A little bit more. A little bit more. Okay. Now, I suggest that if we put her neck in flexion, the vertebrae below that catch up. I'm sorry. I said that wrong. Sorry, let me scratch that. So in this position, there's no traction. I can't get traction in this position. And we're going to look in flexion. And there's no movement there either. So it's really quite intriguing. Usually there's one direction in which mobility is freer, and there's a direction in which it doesn't move. But she's stuck in both directions. So it really has a very interesting, surprising presentation. And what I said to her before I asked for permission to film, the comment that I made is I said, this is a very, very intriguing presentation. How many years has she been seeking care, treatment for this?
7 years, 8 years.
How many years?
About 7 years.
About 7 years. Okay. We didn't film her walking, but when she walks very gingerly, wide base of support, kind of slow, like she doesn't trust her feet. Tell us when you walk, how do you feel?
Feel painful.
Painful?
And unstable.
And unstable. Painful and unstable in your feet. Am I correct?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, one last thing. I want to do just a little simple test on your jaw. So I want you to just relax. And I like to do a little spring test on each side in the direction of rotation. And then now I'm going to spring upwards towards my chest. No give whatsoever. You are holding so much tension in your jaw. So we have this body with little islands of mobility, little islands of hypermobility, okay, and many areas where micromotion is absent. So it's going to be very interesting into how we can, which key will unlock the door. And maybe there's more than one door or more than one lock. And I think that's going to play out. I definitely think we'll have to do some work on the foot and work on the pelvis and work on 12th rib, first rib, AC joints, upper cervical, and lastly, TMJ. Now, when I approach a body in that manner, I learned this in the early 90s that when you treat something you can below, like the cuboids, when we free up her cuboids, for example, we can then test the rest of her body, and areas of compensation might let go. So what you see on day one is not necessarily everything that you're going to treat, because a wise clinician knows the body undergoes a little bit of permutation, sometimes in a predictable manner. Okay, and I've written those things out, but other times in a very surprising manner. I think she's going to be the surprising manner. I truly think this is going to be top 5 of the most fascinating clients that I have worked with in 40 years. 43. I insist. I'm at least 20 years older than I look. Right? Did I say that right? I've said it wrong. I've said it wrong at times. But anyway, thank you for sitting through this. It feels like I've been talking for 12 minutes or more. But stay with me. Look at part 2. I think that we're going to learn much. Thank you very much for filming.